Bravo bosses. This is the Bravo Investigator podcast. I'm your host, Dana, and today we are talking about Southern Charm and the season finale of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. So happy Thursday, everyone. It's almost the end of most people's first week back to work. So I hope it wasn't too brutal for most of you people. And you know what? The weather is great here in Toronto. I'm feeling more positive in my life. I've been getting some good job interviews. I've been having some good networking calls, and I'm feeling just like a lot more positive. So I'm excited about that. Let's hope that 2026 has good things in store for all of us. That's what we can hope for. Now, I wanted to talk to you guys quickly before we got started about Vanderpump Rules. And by that, I mean the new Vanderpump Rules. So as you guys know, I cover this normally today, right? I normally cover it with the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. But it's kind of sucked, right? I feel like we can all agree. I really wanted to get into it, but I was finding it so difficult. And, I tried, I really did. I think I'll probably keep watching it to see if it gets any better, but I'm just not sure if it's something you guys want me to continue covering. I reached out to you guys on Instagram to see what you thought, and 75% of you said, forget about it. So I don't know. I think I'm going to forget about it. I think for now, let's try this. Monday reality roundup as per usual. Tuesday is TLC Tuesday before the 90 days. Wednesday continues to be for the Patreon babies, where we're doing OG Vanderpump Rules season 1 from the beginning. And remember that you can join patreon.com/the Bravo Investigator podcast for only $5 a month to get 4 extra podcast episodes a month, ad-free episodes, and early episodes. And then Thursdays, like today, will be Salt Lake City. Now, even though today was the finale, there's still going to be like 3 reunion episodes, and then that will be what's the word? We're going to get Summer House after that. So that will be transitioned into Summer House. And then Southern Charm will also be today. And then on Fridays, we can cover The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and The Valley Persian Style, which I have not watched yet, but I am hearing good things. I'm hearing it's very reminiscent of our other The Valley show. And while I never watched Shaw's from, the beginning, I think I maybe watched like a couple of episodes. I'm hearing you don't really need to watch Shaw's to get into this show. There's only like 3 repeat characters who I feel like I know from the Bravo-verse, like Reza, Gigi, MJ. And, if they end up having a good mix of old and new, like the other Valley show did, then we'll end up becoming invested in those new characters. So even though it's a completely different thing, I'm excited about it just because it's called The Valley and I enjoyed The Valley so much. So I think that will be kind of fun. And then for the traders, I'm just not sure what to do with it because it's such a hard thing to recap because it's like gameplay. And I don't really understand half of the gameplay, to be quite honest with you. So I might tack it on to our reality roundup on Mondays and just sort of go over the highlights. I think that's what we'll do. And then this coming weekend, I'm going to be doing some deep dives on the Traders cast members with Ryan Bailey on his podcast, So Bad It's Good with Ryan Bailey. And those are episodes that you can sort of listen to at your leisure. I know that 3 episodes of the Traders are coming out tonight, as well as the Valley Persian Style. And you may not get to watch it till the weekend, or you may not sort of get into it for a bit or know who all the characters are. So Ryan and I are going to be like deep diving everything about these people, the good, the bad, the ugly, all the controversies, everything. So that when you eventually get into it and you want to deep dive the show, you can go back, listen to those episodes and get to know everything that you need to know about the Traders, right? So that's super exciting. And then Love is Blind is coming back February 10th, and I'm jazzed about that. Like, as much as that show makes no sense, it is definitely my favorite. It is definitely my favorite. So I will be covering that as well. So we've got a lot of great stuff in the pipeline. I'm really excited about all the great things we have on the horizon. Oh, and one other thing before we get started, I have to give a shout out to Marion. Marion, I keep forgetting to shout you out. Marion leveled up on the Patreon to the Bravo CEOs tier for documentaries. So I just mentioned the other tier of the Patreon. There is another tier, a $10 tier for Bravo CEOs that will get get you everything that you get under the $5 tier for Bravo Bosses, but it'll also get you one documentary per month. It'll also get you a special shout out on the pod. So hello, Marion, and it'll give you more direct access to me. So those are all the great options for you guys for extra content. And let's get into it today. Let's start with Southern Charm because it was a little bit more interesting than Salt Lake, even though it was our finale episode. So we are in season 11, episode 6. And Patricia is going to have her inaugural guys' dinner, which I've always found odd because why can't the women come to it? Didn't she used to have it with the women? I feel like I remember Cameron coming to that many, many years ago, but I don't know. Like, Patricia says that she gets more gossip from the guys, but it still feels sort of like misogynistic in a way that she just has this guys' dinner and none of the women can come. So as we all know, Patricia's old butler, Michael, sadly passed away last year. So she has this new butler, Randy, and she's having some issues with him. He does not know how to organize a table or silverware. Now, she explains that he was not professionally trained as a butler. He was actually a bartender, but is most interested in becoming a DJ. Okay, lots of things here. Here's the first. You actually can be trained as a butler. Like, that's a real thing. I had this English teacher in high school who years later, someone had sent it to me. It was crazy. They had found like this school for butlers in the UK that he had attended, and there was all these pictures of him and stuff. It's like a real legit thing. Like, it sounds so crazy to me. And then the idea of being a DJ. Why, though? I'm really going to need to get some understanding as to why everybody wants to be a DJ. It used to be everybody wants to be an influencer, and now everybody wants to be a DJ. And I guess I'm struggling to understand the drive or the pull toward that. Like, what do you get from being a DJ? You have to stay up really late, right? Nobody likes to do that except for Kyle Cook, so it works for him. You got to be in like loud, noisy areas. I don't know. Like, even it's hard for me to picture like Dorinda or Meredith like spinning in the club, right? Like, it just feels so weird to me, let alone Randy, who is no young buck, right? But this man wants to be a DJ. I'm going to need some more context. Maybe I need to interview a DJ and see like what it is about DJing that just makes you want to make this your career, because I have to be honest, it's not something I've ever thought about and not something I ever will think about as a potential career for myself, despite the fact that I'm unemployed. Okay, so he is so bad at his job that apparently like he sends all these toxic fumes throughout the house because there was something wrong with the oven, and then he used his phone light to like look in the oven, but then he left the phone in there and then made food and left the phone in the oven, so it started to burn. Like, it's not even that he's not trained as a professional butler. Like, he barely knows how to like take care of himself as like a man, right? So, oh man. So yeah, we're having the annual boys' dinner. And she's getting all ready for it. Like I said, she just wants to get all the gossip from the guys. And before that, we have this scene of Shep going to visit his cousin Marcy, who we saw like seasons ago. She was a cast member for like one season. It might have been like the COVID season, but yeah, we haven't seen her in years. Neither is Shep, apparently, because she has 2 kids now. And when we saw her last, she was pregnant, I think. And now she has these 2 kids. I don't know why Shep hasn't seen her in years. Like, he implies that he wants family. I mean, not even implies. In this scene, we see him say, you know, I have a bit of a paternal instinct. I want family, but I also want someone who's adventurous. And Marcy says, you sound like you want someone who can mold to fit your needs. And yes, we always knew this about Shep. But what's so interesting about this scene, and I'm curious if you guys think the same, I'm sort of growing tired of the way these men are constantly being asked about what they're going to do with their future on this show. And I'm not like defending men, like obviously, and I don't mean it in that way. I just find it odd that that's what this show is sort of about. And it's something I've noticed recently. And it's something that Austin actually mentioned on the Vile Files, where you're really pushed on the show to be like, what's happening in your relationship? When are you getting married? What's the next step? And you really do see that on this show. Like, every time Shep is sitting down with a woman, any woman, like not a girlfriend, but like a cousin, a friend, Patricia, any person, he always gets asked, like, where's your relationship going? When are you getting married? And Austin is asked the same, right? And I guess the show really does sort of try to fast track their relationship statuses and probably just kind of like makes it even more stressful. But it's probably not even the show. It's also the fact that it's South Carolina, and that's just, it's expected to get married young, and it's like part of the way. But this show has really become like almost like a matchmaking show. Not where we're actually seeing people matched up, but like every conversation is about that, it feels like. So then we see this scene of Vanita and Sally meeting up for lunch to talk, and it is just like hella awkward. That being said, they both look absolutely stunning, and they are two of the most beautiful women I've ever seen. So they talk about how they've never had awkwardness in their friendship before, and you can really feel it. You feel the tension. It is thick. So Sally says, "Okay, Vanita, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't want to stop hanging out with Craig." All right, she puts it out there. And Vanita says, "Okay, but what's your end goal here? Because you are Sally. You want marriage. You want kids. So you're just wasting your time." And Sally gets kind of emotional about that because, like, it's hard to be asked, like, well, where is this going? Because she doesn't know. Craig hasn't made any moves. But to be told, like, you're wasting time, I mean, that's a difficult one, right? Because we do that sometimes. And Sally says, "I want to be able to make my own mistakes," which is fair, right? Like, it's hard to have a friend to be telling you like what you should or shouldn't do, even if she is right. Because look, is Vanita right at the end of the day? Absolutely. And Vanita's like, "I'm trying to help you. He's going to hurt you. And then you're going to come to me crying and I'm not going to listen." Vanita tells the camera that Sally should pick her over Craig. That's a bold statement. Sally tells the camera that she's never had an adult tell her what to do. Now, I do want to go back to the 2 T's in a pod that Sally did last week, where she said she doesn't really understand this issue with Vanita, more so because she was never really trying to date Craig. So this is where I get confused, because it does seem that way, Sally. Like, it seems that way on the show. So I don't know if this is like a production thing. And if it's a production thing, then is Vanita aware of it? Or is Sally just trying to, maybe she doesn't like Craig and she's just trying to create a storyline with Craig because he's the main character and she's worried that she won't have a storyline or won't get to be on the show otherwise. Like, I really don't know. And like I said, I understand what both of these girls are saying. Is Vanita right? Like I said, yes. He's going to hurt her. He's not going to be with her, yada, yada, yada. But is Sally right? Absolutely too, right? She's an adult. Let her make her own mistakes. And that is something that we often have to do in friendships. We have to let our friends make their own mistakes. And, again, I go back to the point that she made on 2 T's where she said that, like, JT, who Vanita was so into last year, he was awful to Sally. Sally hated him. He tried to blackmail her. But regardless of that, Sally was supportive of Vanita's relationship with JT, right? So I don't know why it can't be the same. And we really are going to need to get more information about that at the reunion. But this scene is hard. And I hope they have been able to get back together in current day, because it just feels really sad that this guy is coming in between a friendship where he's not Vanita's ex and he's not Sally's ex. He doesn't like either of these women. He doesn't think about either of these women. So isn't it kind of unimaginable that these women are literally fighting about him, not over him, but fighting about him, and they're not even in his thoughts, you know what I mean? And that's just what makes me sad. So then we get the scene of Charlie going to dinner with her sister and her sister's kids. And she explains a little just bit more about her relationship with her family. So she says that she doesn't have a relationship with her biological father. She has 2 sisters, and her mom has been married 3 times. And she says, thank God for that, actually, which is funny to hear. You don't hear that often, because I guess the partner that her mother currently has is the father that she considers her father now. So I hope we get a little more information there in terms of why she doesn't speak to her biological father. But she says that recently in therapy, she learned that she was always trying to like comfort her mother and make sure that her mother was okay. And because of that, that's why she feels her friendships so deeply, and she feels her friends' feelings so deeply. Like, why she cares so much about what Sally thinks is because she's sort of been conditioned to care so much about what people think and to really resonate in other people's feelings. Sorry, I forgot where we're going with this here. Right. So Charlie is telling her sister that she likes this guy, Craig, but Sally likes him, right? And that's where she's struggling because she doesn't want to hurt Sally. And her sister's saying, well, you're single, he's single, and what's really the issue here? And she's just like, I just really don't want to hurt my friend. We will get to watch What Happens Live in a minute, because I did watch that and Sally and Charlie were there. Charlie was in the audience, so we'll get a little more information on that. We get this scene of Whitner and Craig going to lunch, which is funny because I don't think they really know each other. Like, didn't Craig say that he dated Whitner's sister or something? But whatever, we just need a scene of two guys going to lunch, right? So they talk about Austin, and Craig says that, I've tried to reach out, but Austin is just, he's so good at doing that victim thing. And then Craig says that he had a really good therapy session with ChatGPT the other day, and he realized that he feels wronged by the fallout of his breakup. Okay, a couple things here. Oh my God, Craig has spent so much time with ChatGPT that it is concerning. He has told us on a majority of podcasts, or sorry, a multitude of podcasts, that he uses ChatGPT as a therapist. He's mentioned on podcasts that what's the word? Like it starts to really get to know you, and it starts to give you the answers that you want to hear, basically. We have heard some horror stories on the internet about like what ChatGPT has told people to do and things that they've done. I don't understand why he doesn't go to a real therapist when he is fully capable of going to one. He has one. And I guess it's because ChatGPT always tells him what he wants to hear, right? It's the only thing in his life that's being a yes man to him. And he loves that because he's not getting that from Shep. He's not getting that from Austin. He said he feels like Austin is keeping Audrey around when he knows he's not going to marry her. And he sort of feels like Paige did that to him. And he thinks it's only fair to let the person go live their life. Okay, so I see what's happening here. It's like he's likening Paige to Austin, meaning he is so butthurt still about this relationship, and we hear that throughout the episode. And quite frankly, it makes me sad for him. It does. Like, she is so moved on, and he is so still in that place. And it's shitty. And I feel like ChatGPT isn't helping, right? It's not helping him move on whatsoever. But basically, he's feeling like, okay, like Paige did me dirty. She never wanted to marry me, and she should have just let me go. I feel like that's what he's thinking. So now he's like, well, wait a minute. Austin is doing that to Audrey. Just let her go. You're not being fair to her. And so he has this resentment towards Austin because he feels like Austin is being to Audrey like Paige was to him, which is a huge thing to say, right? At the end of the day, do I think Paige knew deep down she wasn't going to marry him? No, I don't. I think she did think she was going to marry him. I mean, she said it all the time. I think it really didn't set in for her until that final like 8 months or so, where she really did start thinking about her future with him and tried to picture it, and she couldn't picture it. I mean, that's something that she said in terms of like why they broke up and when they broke up, because she said that, he had asked her over Thanksgiving, can you see us like having these family dinners or whatever, like as a family with our kids, with our parents, blah, blah, blah. And then she realized like, no, I don't. But for a long time, I think that she did, right? I think that it changed, and I think that things can change. But I think it's kind of unfair for him to like place all this blame on Paige, to be like, she should have let me go. But in all fairness, I think she was just trying to figure it out, right? She wasn't trying to be malicious to him in any sense. In the same way, I don't think Austin is trying to be malicious to Audrey. He's just trying to figure it out. He's literally just trying to figure it out. He doesn't hate Audrey. And like the weird way that Craig was about Austin going to visit Audrey in North Carolina as opposed to coming to his party the week before, like, he does love Audrey, right? Like, he's treating it like he fucking hates Audrey and that he should be breaking up with her immediately. I think he loves Audrey, but I think at the end of the day, he's realizing that she's not his person, and he's just taking his time to get there in the same way I think Paige took her time to get there. So Whitner is sympathetic to Craig because he was also left by a woman, so he is still angry. And while Craig is talking about how he cried to his phone, i.e. ChatGPT, he has now sort of made friends with this other guy where they're both sort of giving like this little smidge of incel mentality. I'm sorry, just a smidge, because they're both getting really angry at women for having like done them wrong. So hopefully they get out of that mentality, because that ain't good. So we finally have Miss Pat's dinner. The guys show up. It is weird that Whitner was invited when he and Pat have never met. I don't know why they couldn't have just met before this, right? Like, it is weird because this is Miss Pat's dinner. She likes to get together with the guys because she feels like she has a good relationship with them, wants all the gossip. But yeah, to invite someone that you've never met, but you're not going to invite the girls, that feels kind of weird. There's this other new guy there. His name is Steven, and he's Whitney's friend. He's a British doctor, and like Shep does this whole backstory about him that he's not even sure is correct. So I'm not going to go into it because I'm not sure it's correct either. But he is hilarious, by the way. This guy gives face during the entire dinner because he is just being introduced to all of these people. He doesn't know their mannerisms, their quirks, their backstories. And so when he's listening to these guys for the first time, he is like in shock and awe. But it is hella awkward between Craig and Austin. And like I said, because this show is very much like, when are you getting married? When's this happening? What's the next step? We have Miss Pat asking Austin right away, are wedding bells imminent? And he's like, well, no. I mean, there's no rush. And then you have the new guy, Steven, being like, that was the longest drawn out no I've ever heard. He is just absolutely living for the vibe here. And then Whitner is asked if he's interested in anyone in the group. And he actually says that he asked out Charlie, but she said no. And then we pan to this scene of Charlie being like, oh, well, maybe if it was like a group hang. So shot down right there. And then Miss Pat asks Craig about being like Mr. Hot Tub, having all of these girls in the hot tub. And he's like, oh, I don't know, like no one's even kissed yet, which is weird, to be honest, right? And Shep's like, this is the most PG hot tub I've ever seen. So Steven says that Craig kind of pegs him as the kind of guy who's in a serious relationship that's going somewhere. And everyone laughs because that was old Craig, right? Craig says, yeah, I was in this 3-year relationship. She left. And I got to be honest with you, I wish we could go back. I'm not going to lie to you and say that I wouldn't take her back. What are you talking about, Craig? First of all, she's never coming back. Second of all, why are you saying that? You don't need to say that right now. I feel embarrassed for him, quite frankly. I don't know if she's watching. If she's not, I'm sure she's being sent clips. But like, again, she is so moved on and he is still so stuck in that place where, I think he's still going through the stages of grief where I think he's still in the anger stage, to be quite frank with you. But at the same time, it's clear that he still loves her because for him to say at this juncture that he would still get back with her, that means he's not over it. He's just not over it. He doesn't know how to reconcile that or how to even talk about it because it seems so insane, right? Like you can't go and say to your friends like, hey guys, I know it's been 6 months, but I am not over her. I am not over her at all because it would just look so pathetic. So I think he's trying to sort of figure that all out in his mind. And it's just, I hope by now he's over this because it has been over a year now. I really hope he's over it. So we get this scene of Craig and Austin going outside to talk to figure out their issues. And Craig says that Austin triggered him with the like little chirp that he made a few weeks back at the party. So he retaliated. And Austin says, I just don't know how you're going to react to things sometimes. And so I feel like I'm walking on eggshells and I just don't want to be in like a game of chess with you. It is too hard. So Craig apologizes, but he says that like when Austin chirped him, it triggered him because of how friends have treated him in the past. And Austin says like, look, man, I can't help but care about you. I really care about you. I want to be friends. But if you snap on me, dude, we're done. And I do think that's fair, right? And I feel like I've been saying this for several weeks now since this season came back. Craig has a lot of built up resentment towards Austin, whether it's justified or not, that's up to him. But he needs to make a decision about this relationship because if he can't even function around Austin without like attacking him for him literally breathing. And I've been in this situation too, right? I've been in the situation where I'll be the same way at someone because I've been harboring all this resentment towards them, which I really, really try not to do. I really try to talk to people in the moment when things are bothering me. But it's very clear that Craig has let things accumulate and accumulate and accumulate to the point of like, he just fucking hates Austin. I don't think they're ever going to be able to come back. Even if this is really about nothing at the end of the day, I think it's just too far gone for Craig because he just has this built up resentment, which I really don't understand the full on root of. And when he talks about how he's been treated by friends in the past, I'm curious what he means. I'd like more information on that. Like, does he feel he's been betrayed by people? Is that why he relies so heavily on ChatGPT? I mean, as much as him and like Austin and Shep are friends, these guys have sort of like fucked each other over in the past. I mean, I can't think of the only specific thing I can think of is actually a Shep thing towards Austin, where he brought those 2 girls that like Austin allegedly cheated on Madison with to a party that Austin and Madison were going to be at. He has still to this day said that he doesn't regret that, but that's like a bitch move. And that's not something you would do to your friend, right? So outside of things like that, I just don't know what Craig is necessarily saying. And I think part of what he's saying is he doesn't feel safe in this group, which is kind of a fair statement. And it's something that we'll talk a little bit more about when we talk about Salt Lake City. But I think when it comes to these shows, even though Southern Charm isn't like Housewives, or we don't think about it in the same way that we think about Housewives, or we think about it in terms of alliances and stuff like that, we think about it in terms of real friendships. Maybe he doesn't feel safe amongst these friendships anymore. And I guess that's his choice. So we move on to Watch What Happens Live. We had Sally Carson on, and we had a celebrity who I completely forget. Oh, it was Jenny McCarthy. It was Jenny McCarthy. But I'm just going to read some of the highlights that Sally mentioned. So Sally says that the show makes it seem intense, but it wasn't that deep. She was not like in love with Craig. I don't know. Maybe she's just like a very flirty person. So like, no, I mean she was going in the hot tub, and she even said on the show like she doesn't know why Craig didn't make a move on her in the hot tub, but maybe she was just interested in like hooking up. Maybe she wasn't interested in like dating. I really don't know because she keeps saying that, which is why it's confusing to me. Now, Charlie was in the audience, but she said that she saw her flirting with Craig as very innocent. Sally also said that she straight up thinks that Shep is incapable of monogamy, which I agree. And like, let's stop asking him about it every season then. Let's just assume that he's going to be single forever. And we don't need to ask him about it every season, right? I feel like let's just drop it. Sally did think that Charlie wasn't completely honest with her about Craig during the season, and that did hurt her. And apparently they kind of go through it, but we'll see that happen on the show. This is really interesting. Sally said that she doesn't see it going anywhere with Carl and Vanita. And I'm really curious as to why. She said, I think Carl's a great guy, but no, I don't see that going anywhere. Now, people are shipping it. People are really excited about those two. So I'm very curious to hear why Sally is saying that. I'm wondering if it has anything to do with Carl in particular. I wonder if it's like kind of a slight at Vanita, given that maybe their friendship isn't in the greatest place. I'm not really sure, but I am very curious to hear what beef Sally has with Carl Radke. And then when Sally was asked if she's gone after Austin since he's been single, Sally's like, oh, you thought I was going after Craig? Just you wait and watch. Okay, so we are going to see her all over Austin, okay? Like all up over Austin. All right, well, that is the end of Southern Charm. So let's move into the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City finale, episode 16. So it is day 4 of Greece. It's the last day in Greece. And the ladies are going to be the subject of a play about them. And they tell the playwright about themselves and each other to help inform the play. I watched this episode like 5 or 6 times. I'm not joking, you guys. And I had no idea what was going on. Like, so I'm going to have a little bit trouble recapping this today because I felt like this episode was hella confusing, didn't really end anywhere, was a bit disappointing because it was such a great season. But I felt like this finale was lackluster. And when it comes to this play, I'm not going to go into it in detail because I didn't get it. I don't get the play. Like, what is this something that they do in Greece? Is this something that you can purchase where you can give your story to a playwright and then they'll act it out? It's sort of like last year where they're like, let's read our worst texts out to each other, but instead we're going to mask this as a play. It just felt weird. I'm sorry, but it just felt weird. As they're talking to the playwright, like we have each one of the ladies sitting down with her, describing themselves, describing each other. Lisa describes herself as smart and as deep, because she's a Sagittarius. And then she tries to figure out what the playwright is. And she's like, oh, you're a Leo, right? You totally are. You're a Sag. You're so a Sag, right? You're a Sag? And she's like, no. Well, what are you? She's like, a Pisces. I knew you were going to say Pisces. I knew it. I'm like, Lisa. Oh my God, our baby gorgeous. She can be ridiculous. And that's what I love about her. As much as she overreacts to things and it's kind of an eye roll, when she's trying to impress someone, I guess, she's very funny. It's very funny. We hear words from the women like ego, pride, lack of justice, dingbat. Mary says, I like them all except one. We have the most positive Mary this season. So Bronwyn, as an aside, she is pissed in general because Meredith is looking all sunny and happy and easy breezy, beautiful Maybelline, which is not the ad, honey. It's CoverGirl. Because last night, Meredith apparently came to Bronwyn's room, was hysterical that everyone is out to get her. But now she just seems like everything is all sunshine and roses. all right, well, it's a new morning, Bronwyn. Like, why can't Meredith have been upset last night? You comforted her, you maybe made her feel better, and then in the morning, she's fine. And also, I don't know why people keep saying that Meredith has like these mood swing problems. Because look, we have seen her in different moods, but like everyone has different moods, right? At different times. Okay, we're going to get to that in a minute. But like, even if Meredith was upset the night before, it doesn't make her an alcoholic or a pill popper that in the morning she has a different mood. Our moods change throughout the day. It doesn't necessarily mean you have a problem. I'm just saying that as an aside. So then Bronwyn feels like Meredith is using her to get at the other women because she feels like she's been telling Meredith things to be a good friend, right? She's like, this is what people are saying about you. But then she feels like Meredith is using that as ammo, right? Like we saw that at the dinner the week before, where Meredith was calling Brittany out on like drinking and puking and drinking and puking. And then Meredith was like, well, I heard that from someone else. And Bronwyn's like, that's not even what I said, right? So she feels like it's not really fair. So she sits Meredith down to talk. And Bronwyn says, like, I feel like, kind of confused. We had this awkward conversation last night. You were upset. You were asking me what was said at lunch. And Meredith is like, I didn't ask you that. And Bronwyn is like, what the fuck? Yes, you did. And they go back and forth about this. And when she's talking about the lunch, remember, I think she's referring to the meal that Bronwyn, Mary, and Whitney had where they were discussing being very concerned about Meredith and that she may have a problem. And Mary was super emotional about it. So was Whitney. And yeah, I guess that's what she's asking about. But like, I don't know. She keeps going back here and being like, no, that didn't happen. That didn't happen. And then Bronwyn's like, I feel like you're using me and you're using what I tell you against me. And so they just never are able to come to like a resolution on this. And Bronwyn feels like she's been bamboozled because she just feels like Meredith is like fucking with her. I don't know why Meredith would lie about this. I do believe Bronwyn because it seems very obvious from the way that Bronwyn is talking that she's telling the truth because she seems like so incredibly appalled. I don't know why Meredith would lie about that. I don't know what the end goal of that would be. Why can't she just be like, yeah, I did ask you about the lunch. And why is it bad that she asked about the lunch? Like, I mean, like it wasn't a private conversation. I mean, it sort of was, but it's going to be televised. Why can't she ask Bronwyn what was said about me at a lunch with my other friends that's going to be televised? Like, I don't really get why that's a big deal. And I don't get why Meredith is denying it. But I also don't get why Bronwyn is making that a big deal. Or maybe she's worried that like if she were to have told Bronwyn or Meredith what happened at the lunch, then Meredith would use that as retaliation and would get her in trouble with the rest of the ladies. Yes, I think that's what makes sense. All right. So we get the play. And the play is like, it's using a lot of cutting words. We're talking about one of them spending all of her time with men while ignoring her children. We hear about one that uses her laughter as a shield and doesn't really open up about what's going on with her. We talk about one using their wealth as like a shield. We hear a lot of things, right? And it was cutting for me to hear, right? Because it's like hearing like your worst fears about yourself being acted out in a play, right? It's like last year. It really is like last year with the text. It's really that similar. So Bronwyn says that she has a deep issue with loyalty. She gets really emotional about it. She says that she doesn't give it and she doesn't get it. And if she's being honest, Todd has not been loyal to her. Wow. I mean, I think it's a really honest thing to say that you don't give loyalty or get loyalty because, it would be very much of like a victim mentality if she was just like, no one's loyal to me. I'm not loyal either, but no one's loyal to me. But no, she's admitting that. But then she's sort of saying like she doesn't know how to be loyal. And I think that that's kind of a cop out. I think you do know how to be loyal. I think you're making these choices. Like she made those choices to be loyal to Meredith because she was trying to befriend her. That's why she did it, right? It's not, you know what it is, right? You're making those choices for yourself. And to hear her say flat out, Todd has not been loyal to her, I mean, it just makes me sad because I really feel like she spent a good portion of this season really just realizing how fucked up her relationship is. And we watched her sort of go through that through the season. We watched her be upset about him. We watched her try to rationalize his like infidelity and saying that she like, maybe I want in on it, right? We see her sit down with him and question him about like the monogamy of their relationship. We've heard her say that when she and Todd were going through bad times, that she would get really defensive. And when she said that, which was the lunch of all things, when she said that, I thought, girl, you don't even have the introspection to realize that you are still going through it, right? You're still going through it. And that's why I think she has been so back and forth and up and down and defensive when it comes to Todd all season, because she'll have these moments where she wants to confess to the women and she wants like support. And then once they've figured it out, she wants to pretend it all went away because she doesn't want her marriage looked at in a bad light. But then when she's going through those terrible moments, she's so desperate for that support, right? Which is so understandable. Lisa's also upset about the play. She felt sad for the impression that she hides behind her possessions. She said that she sees them as like a reward to herself and that she's really hard on herself and that she always kind of sees herself as a failure. Meredith says that she has trouble opening up to people because she feels like she's been betrayed a lot. And then Heather's like, okay, but you're not like some docile mouse. Like, you keep trying to get info from Bronwyn and then flipped it. And Whitney's like, why do you want to know about the lunch? Like, you kept asking about the lunch. Like, why do you want to know about that? And Meredith is like, every time I try to get talked to, or every time I try to talk, I get screamed at. And everyone's like, no one is screaming at you. We're just trying to figure out, like, you're kind of coming in here acting like a victim when in actuality, you are, coming at us as well. And Mary just kind of comes at it at this point because she feels like no one has been honest about Meredith. And so she just does it. She's like, what are we all doing here? We are all grown adults and we can't even tell Meredith we think something is wrong. And Mary is like, Meredith, you're not okay. Bottom line, you're not okay. I am here to tell you you're not okay. And Meredith is like, well, I'm fine. She's like very calm and she's kind of like trying to leave because she's so annoyed by this whole situation. Now, this is really interesting because you can sort of analyze this and think like, wow, she's being so calm. I'd be like freaking the fuck out if somebody was telling me that like I have a problem. But like, it's hard to say how anyone's going to react in a situation. And even though Meredith would typically kind of like freak the fuck out, I think they're sort of waiting for her to do that and then to be like, see, look at the way your mood is changing. But I do just want to say for the record that listen, I don't know at the end of the day if she has any sort of substance issue. Ryan Bailey told us on my podcast on January the 1st, when we did our recap then, he was like, listen, Heather would not be coming to the table with all of these accusations if there wasn't something there. She's too smart for that. And so that made me think, but still, at the end of the day, based on the information that we have, which isn't much, it is sort of normal for someone to get upset if someone is accusing them of like infidelity or pill popping or being an alcoholic and all of these things. And then once you sort of get away from that, to calm down. If someone was accusing me of all of those things, I'd be freaking the fuck out too. And it would be unfair then if someone were coming back at me like, see, your personality is changing, your mood is changing. And it's like, but you're also coming at me with things that would be upsetting to anyone. So I think that that's really important. Now, Whitney tries to tell her that her behavior is like up and down and it reminds her of her dad, which I understand, but she's like projecting her issues with her dad on Meredith because yes, her dad had a substance abuse issue, but that doesn't mean that Meredith does as well. And different symptoms can be synonymous different symptoms can be, what am I trying to say? Like if her father had like up and down sort of mood swings, and that was part of his substance abuse issue, Meredith could also have up and down mood swings as part of a different issue. It could be depression. It could be anxiety. You can have mood swings from like mental health disorders and not substance abuse disorders. So what I'm trying to say is the symptoms that Whitney is describing don't only show what an alcoholic does. They also are synonymous with other conditions, right? Or just like it could be synonymous with like someone who just doesn't get a lot of sleep, right? When I don't get a lot of sleep, I have crazy mood swings. Again, I'm not saying whether Meredith is or is not someone who has a substance abuse issue. I really don't know. And I really hate that we even need to like question it. But I'm just saying that a lot of the things that the ladies are pinpointing as evidence that Meredith has an issue are Again, symptoms of other things too. So Bronwyn says that, I've had hard times in my marriage. And when I feel that way, I get defensive. So she brings that up again. But now she's bringing it up towards Meredith because she's trying to relate to her in that sense. So she's like, I don't know if there's an issue in your marriage. And Meredith is like, well, there isn't. And Bronwyn's like, okay, well, I don't know if there is. Bronwyn, she just said there isn't, right? So you don't need to continue. And then she's like, well, I saw Seth with someone in New York and I don't know who it was. And Bronwyn's starting to act like all innocent, like she's not alluding to anything is fucked up. Like, I'm sorry. You guys can't kind of come at her here and be like, we think you have a problem. And, maybe there's a problem in your marriage and that's making you defensive. And so I'm going to bring up something else about your marriage. And didn't we all agree that we're not going to be talking about people's marriages? And like I said, if someone tried to bring this up to me and tried to allude that my husband was cheating, I would freak the fuck out too, right? Because it's so out of nowhere and it's so unwarranted. And she is trying to start shit here. I'm sorry, but she is. Like, even Lisa's like, you are now alluding to the fact that like Seth is cheating. Like, what is wrong with you? And she's like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. Yes, you are, Bronwyn. If you guys are going to try to act like you're helping Meredith, then at least be honest. And Meredith just acts like super like calm, cool, collected, which I feel like she got advice to do. And it's not bad advice, right? The fact that she's acting calm throughout all of this, I think is really throwing them off as well. And she's just like, you guys just like have a great life. I have a great life. Bye. I'm leaving. And she flat out tells the camera this: I don't do drugs. I drink less than most of these women. And that's that. It sort of ends there with them all kind of not talking and all in a fight. The reunion looks like it's going to be really good. We definitely know that Bronwyn and Todd are separated and that is announced in the reunion. But I just sort of feel like very lackluster with how this ended because, first of all, I think that Brittany should have gotten like an end card as well. Oh, sorry, I guess I'll read everyone's end cards, which were also sort of like kind of boring. You've got Heather saying she's been traveling and enjoying the empty nest. Her new mattress remains pristine. She loved having her daughter home for the holidays and was even happier when they left. No storyline, no nothing. Her new mattress remains pristine. She's not even using it with anybody. Like, I can't with this. Then Lisa. Lisa continues to talk with the trees, which convince her that she's a good listener, despite what John says. She was sad to learn buffalo mozzarella comes from an actual buffalo, not New York. Again, lame sauce. Whitney, Rose Beauty, is back in Whitney's possession, but not without causing trouble in her marriage. She still meets with Terrence, her intuitive consultant, who does not see any Cartier purchases in her future. I am actually more curious about Whitney's marriage because when she had that whole sit down with Bronwyn and was like, oh, we have this agreement and I go out there and if I see something I like, I just take that on and I just need to be careful. And Justin just tells me to be careful. Like, I want to get into all of that. And I would also love Justin's opinion on that at the reunion. For Meredith, with her Caviar Lounge still in the process of opening, Meredith is spinning her way to DJ stardom. Her marriage is stronger than ever, and her reservation for Mother's Day is already booked for next year. Angie hasn't completed her Greek citizenship, but she's considering learning how to be a medic for herself. She says her fast food commercial was definitely not an attempt at one-upping Lisa. Bronwyn is officially an American citizen. She is still waiting for her first jury duty summons, but has her outfit ready. Muzzy and Gwen are still living with Bronwyn, and her marriage is closed for discussion for now. Obviously, it'll be pretty open for discussion at the reunion. And then Mary. With prayer and tough love, Mary hopes Robert Jr. will find his way. Her church remains her safe space, and her dog remains one of her closest advisors. I mean, I would also consider my dog one of my closest advisors, so I think that's fair. All right, so yeah, like I said, the ending there was sort of lackluster. We kind of just don't know where to go from here. Everybody was sort of separated and divided at the end of this. We had Meredith and Lisa as their team. We've got like Whitney and Heather as their team. I can see these people continuing to film with each other. Like, it's not that serious. Like, we don't have them saying that, but it also just felt weird that this ended in a fight and that all of their ending cards just kind of showed nothing. So it just felt like a weird letdown of the end of the season. That being said, I do love reunions, despite them being hard to recap. I love them, and I'm glad that we're going to be getting 3 because I feel like Andy always says that the reunion is there for resolution. It's about conflict and resolution. So if we can get some resolution, that would be great in terms of figuring out how to go forward. I do wonder, though, how Meredith goes forward, because quite frankly, if none of these things are true and all of these people have accused her of some really fucked up stuff and it's not true, I don't know how I could come back from that. Not even for the money, not even for the show, not even for anything, because it is so damaging. It is so offensive. And if not true, meaning that they are not actually trying to help her, it really is fucked up. Like, and I would understand then why she doesn't feel like safe in those friendships. And it's what I was talking about earlier with Southern Charm, where it's like, maybe all of these shows sort of started with the premise about being about groups of friends, but over time, people have become so self-involved and so much more about like how they are progressing or how they are viewed optically in the social media verse or whatever it may be, that they're willing to hurt each other, meaning that the friendships are no longer real, meaning that the people on these shows don't feel safe in those friendships and probably end up kind of like mentally fucked up from it at the end of it, right? I mean, if you really want to be on these shows, be on these shows, but it's not something I could ever do, I will be honest. All right, guys, that is the end of the episode for today. I hope that you enjoyed it. Tomorrow, we will be covering The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and the first 2 episodes of The Valley Persian Style. I love you, BBs, and I will see you next time. Thank you for listening to the Bravo Investigator podcast. For more content, head over to patreon.com/The Bravo Investigator podcast. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads at The Bravo Investigator. If you enjoyed the show, leave a 5-star review. Love you, BBs. See you next time.